Welcome to the Winners Find a Way show and podcast with your host, Trent M. Clark, three-time World Series coach, CEO of Leadershipity, serial entrepreneur, having started 12 companies, coach to the 1%, and an international speaker. This show is going to be your go-to podcast for facing adversity, being inspired, and overcoming obstacles, all from the best in the world, business, sports, and leadership. Hate the crappy ingredients in many beverages and energy drinks? Rebellious Infusions are the go-to functional beverage. They have 5 or fewer plant-based organic ingredients, no sugar, no calories, loaded with antioxidants to boost your immune system, and L-theanine for brain health. Rebellious Infusions are available at drinkrebellious.com. Rethink your drink. For 10% off of your next purchase, use the code 99999.
Hello, it's Trent Clark, your host, and welcome to the Winners Find a Way show. I am a serial entrepreneur and international speaker, longtime coach in professional baseball, coaching in 3 World Series.
Oh my goodness.
Even one with those Angels out there in California, where my good friend and guest, Dr. Maria Nemeth, joins me. Dr. Maria, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. And I'm thrilled to be on your show.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have you. First of all, Doctor, we were introduced through a mutual friend, and I'm just super excited to talk some shop about your background. You were, a doctor of psychotherapy from UCLA, and you were right there in one of my heroes, Coach Wooden's era of the UCLA championships, and just a lot of things going on like in that era in LA. And I just saw a Jesus Revolution and talking about California, like in the hippie time of the 70s. There's a lot going on there. You were really an inspiration to me as a person, because as a longtime coach, I put a lot of honor and admiration to that word coach. I was a coach for a long time. I am still a coach to many executives and entrepreneurs around the world and athletes. And I don't take that moniker lightly in any way. And yet you really took it to another level when you really started ACE, this training for coaches at this next level. Can you talk real quick about that, about how that got started?
Well, it got started, Trent, I got my PhD in psychology at UCLA, and I went on to become a psychotherapist. And I really saw that my temperament was not to be a long-term psychotherapist. It is more in the coaching field. And about 30 years ago, I started looking at what it would be like to be a coach. Now, Trent, in those days, I tell you, there was no such thing as a personal coach. We had sports coaches, we had drama coaches, we had all kinds of different, but not personal coaches. And so I began looking at there's some masters around who are coaching, whether or not they know it. And I learned from them, and I developed a program with some very powerful principles over a period of about 10 years, used really everything I learned to do it. And about 23 years ago, some colleagues came to me and said, why don't we start a coach training academy, Maria? Because, you've done so much work already in the field. And so I wanted to throw my hat in the ring, do it, and give people the most rigorous coach training possible. Because one thing, just want to declare it right here, coaching is just as powerful as psychotherapy. And so you want your coaches to be at least as well trained as a beginning psychotherapist. They're not going to do psychotherapy, but they have to really know how to work with people at that level of seeing what's important to that person and seeing how they can support that person to be successful.
Yeah, that's so good. I often have said, as I look at, the best coaches in the world, in the world have been battling, coaching in different things in their life for a long time. And of course, the best players in the world have had some access to some of the best coaches. And so, I have a saying that says, hey, the best in the world have a coach. Why don't you? Right? And people who are striving to be the best at whatever it is, and they're reluctant to get training, to get a guide, to get that deal. So before we dive into you, the author, Dr. Maria, tell the audience where they can find you.
You can find me at marianemeth.com. Trent.com, and you can sign up for my newsletter. Trent, I write one article every week that I send to people that is designed to give you something to think about and that will help you on your success path. And so if that's something that people want, they can always do that, or they can go to acecoachtraining.com and see what our rigorous coach training program is all about.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk a little bit about that, because as you talk about being an author and being able to deliver your words of wisdom weekly, you've had some bestsellers. I mean, you've had some big books, and let's talk about The Energy of Money, which is probably one of the biggest books. It got you on Oprah, right?
It did.
Yeah. So
share
that book.
Yeah, I will. I was going to say shamelessly.
Look at that.
So there it is, Energy of Money.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
that's the eye of the dollar bill, right? That's the pyramid.
It sure is.
Yeah.
And if there are people who actually want to take their study even further, they go to energyofmoney.com, where I have a digital course that takes you even further into financial success.
Wow.
So just something to look at.
That's incredible. I mean, you've been in this and you've been coaching people how many years?
I know it's going to date me. I've been coaching people for 30 years. I told you before the show that I have been working with people, first as a psychotherapist. I've been working with people for 52 years.
Wow.
I say to people, I was a child prodigy.
That's right. That's awesome, right? And that's so cool. So let's get into one thing that most people don't know about you, Dr. Maria.
Well, one thing that most people don't know is that at some point, Dennis Hopper and I were an item.
And a former beau, a former suitor.
And we made a student film together at UCLA, which won the best student film of the year at the Yale Film Festival. It was called Light Years, shot in Panavision. And it's very short. I think it's only about 10 minutes long. But it's me and Dennis on a motorcycle. One's seen it, even before Easy Rider. And
you were the inspiration for Easy Rider. There you go.
You're feeding my ego here to say that.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that people don't know about me, that I'm
that's so cool. I love Dennis Hopper's obviously made some iconic films. And, probably one of his later films. I loved him in Hoosiers, as the dad who's looking for redemption, clean himself up and help the team. And he played some real, even in a role that wasn't, the central character. He was just iconic on the screen. You may have, Dr. Maria, you may have missed your calling. Maybe you were being for Hollywood. You don't know, like Light Years. I don't know.
Oh gosh. No, I tell you, my calling was always to support people to live the life that they want to live. And for me, that outweighed everything else, and really has for half a century, just like you have a calling to work with people to be successful. I think, Trent, I have to say, I think that coaching, when you're really a great coach, it's not just a profession, it's a calling. It's something that you almost cannot not do.
Yeah, I really identify with that, right? Like, because, it's like if I wasn't doing it, I'm wondering if I'm getting oxygen to breathe. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like when and I had this thing where as a young man, I had these years of like what I call the audit of excellence, where 3 state championships in my final 3 years of high school, then national junior college championship, then 2 more World Series in the next 4 years. So there's an 11-year span there where, I'm at the pinnacle of whatever level I'm at, looking around going, well, why is this team competing? Why are they winning and we're losing? What could I have done differently? And, it's this breakdown and this audit of what are the coaches doing? What are they doing to prepare us for this thing at this next level and what's about to come at us? And there's so much to it. And, in our business, we always talk about the entrepreneurial spirit and these executives in leadership. And the 2 things I know about owners are that very few of them went to school for leadership or coaching. And now all these people around you need you to model some real leadership skills, and they need your coaching. And without someone like you out there to really direct and help guide their steps about, hey, how would that look for me to be a good coach for my team. We're just kind of throwing darts, right? Like, hey, I hope that thing hits the board. Like,
Sweetie.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I love the way you say it, because it's just speaks to the heart of the matter. I am coaching leaders from around the world. Our Coach Training Academy is an internationally recognized training academy, but it gives me the chance also to meet with leaders. And I know that, to be a good leader requires some skill set in how to literally be with people in a way that empowers them to see their own greatness. A leader is not someone who will put you down or say what's wrong with you. A really great leader is one who helps the people that they're leading, number one, see what is right about them, and because once you see everything that you do possess, then as a coach, you can come right behind and say, now, what are some skills that you would like to improve upon? And the person feels so empowered at that point. So it's a real leadership. Really, our job as leaders is to make the people under us successful, period.
Yeah, period.
Period.
So I love the idea when you talk about success. I mean, let's just take a little road down the word of, success and how we define that. And a lot of people would define that in a lot of different way. I liked the way Coach Wooden defined the success pyramid. I thought that was a really good definition of success, of like being the best I can be, because I know my capability and going to my maximum potential. I really honored the way he viewed it. And it wasn't hey, I'm successful because I may be just as good as Maria. and it's not a comparison, right? It's no. What is your potential capacity? How do you define it?
Well, I'll tell you, I want to speak to Coach Wooden for just a minute and his pyramid. I think he describes very accurately the road to success. My definition could come right alongside his, because I define success in terms of how to get there. Okay, so success is doing, this is the definition that we use at the academy, and I've used it for a long time in my own life. Success is doing what you said you would do consistently with clarity, focus, ease, and grace.
Wow.
Where clarity, Brent, is about being clear about what is important to you. What are we going for? Yeah. Because so many of us get distracted, especially with so many different points of data coming at us, every minute. It's easy to look around you for markers of success without going in first and saying, what is it that I truly want? The second, which is focus, is something that I teach people, how to focus your brain, how to train your brain to focus on what it is you really want. Because your brain has unlimited potential.
Yes.
And if you know how to focus it, which is one of the things that I teach people, then things become easier for you to navigate. And of course, the third principle is ease. And by ease, I mean, and this is incidentally, I've found that people are starting to use this, not what I'm saying, but use the concept of ease, which is learning how to take small, sweet steps toward your goal. Because if we promise a lot and don't live up to it, there's such a letdown. Whereas if you promise something, which is a stretch, but there's some ease involved, then you can keep going without wasting energy. And so then the last part of it is grace. And grace, Trent, it's about your capacity to see the blessings that are already there in your life. And the gateway to grace is gratitude. And we know, even in psychology, that when you can help someone become grateful for where they're at, grateful for being on the hero's journey, grateful for being alive and having the privilege of going for whatever they want, it gives a kind of an overall sustainability to their efforts. So clarity, focus, ease, and grace. Now, if we had a 90-minute course, I could go into each one of these more in detail, but I just wanted to give you the flavor of what we mean.
Yeah, and I think but I think there's a lot to dive into right there. Like, and I love the three, and as you know, one of my brands is leadershipity, all the idiots of leadership. And we always talk about the biggies like integrity and humility, but clarity is a big. In fact, I sign my emails lead with clarity, right? Because
No,
I do,
that's
because
see?
because that is one of those things, especially during this pandemic. It just feels like there's
Oh,
so many misdirections running, and
so many.
we're on uncertainty overload. And
Yeah.
so getting back to what you call, that clarity is really important. I love the idea of focus. It's probably one of the most overlooked skills that the best athletes in the world have, that their counterparts who couldn't get to that level just simply don't have. They
Yeah.
don't simply have that ability to remain focused in all things. And I remember For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner, he's like, clear the mechanism, right? And so, and I'm telling, I used to tell people, like, I don't hear fans when I'm at bat. Like, I've got a job to do. Like, I am focused on what's about to happen next. I don't know if somebody's yelling my mom's name in vain, and then I don't hear it. Like, it just
Sweet.
doesn't mean anything,
Oh, I
because
think you're so great.
yeah, you're not going to hear that. The ease I want to dive into a little bit, because
Okay.
Lee, Maria, nothing seems easy these days. It just feels
Hmm.
like a lot of pushing the rock uphill, like, I don't know how you see that, but I did have a great client in my office today who said, there's a lot of uncertainty in my life. There's a lot of challenges in this world, but like, work's getting easy. Like, I feel really confident in what I'm doing. Like, I know and anticipate what's about to happen. And, literally 99% of the time, it's a rarity that I get surprised in my role. And I thought, man, that's a real peace of mind.
That is it. And by ease, what I mean, I think coincides with that. So let me take the metaphor of pushing the rock uphill, the
Sure.
boulder uphill.
Yeah.
Okay. So what if, just to stretch this metaphor, what if you began to push the boulder uphill and you were getting tired? So you found a way to station the boulder in such a way that it's not going to roll back down.
Right.
And you rest.
Yes.
And you gain strength, and then you start pushing it again. This is what I mean by small, sweet steps, you say. What if along the way, not only are you doing that, but you're getting support to push that boulder? So you're not alone. So, because so many leaders think that they have to be the strong one, they're the lone wolf, they have to be out there themselves. There's, getting support is cheating. And you and I both know that one of the best ways to be successful in life is to get support, maybe from your peers, maybe from people who are up to some of the same things that you are, even if they're in different fields, but learning to underpromise and overdeliver, because so much of the time we overpromise and then underdeliver.
Yeah.
Or that by the time we deliver, we're too exhausted to do anything else. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, for sure.
So that whole thing about, well, why don't I underpromise, still keeping the clients, going along with it, and I over deliver, which is surprise and delight my clients.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing it that way, you open up the whole field of delight, and at that point, you begin to experience yourself a sense of grace, meaning things to be grateful for, because here I have a client that I have delighted, and in that it makes me feel good. So, this has to do about the quality of my experience of life. Trent, it's not so much about how much I can get done. It's like, I hope this is helpful.
Yeah, I think that, as I listen, I mean, I'm reminded of having someone around who's like yourself, that you go to for learning. I've been a member in, obviously, professional baseball, but also in the entrepreneur organization. And I equate it to what I call hyper learning. I have all these superstars who have really created value in life for others, and they have been among the 1% for a long time. Absolutely disciplined, focused, creating environments for other people to shine and
Yep.
contribute. And so they call people like you, Dr. Maria. They like, hey, I need the best in the world. So I went to Dr. Maria and she helped me. And then I go to what I think is the best in the world. And then this person goes to who they think is the best in the world. And then we all got to come together and go, well, what did you learn from Dr. Maria? Well, what did you learn from Bill Reynolds?
I love
what did you learn, from Tony Robbins? And so you're getting like, oh, we all get in this environment, which is part of the ego thing in the professional sports thing. Like, hey, everyone's been coached by really good people because they're super talented. But everybody, they drop that big itty, that humility at the door and check that ego, because now it's time to come in amongst all the superstars and learn together. And so it's a fascinating environment, but it's hyper learning, like, 400 class, right? Like you got to come in and bring your sponge, because you got to take it all in. And the faster you get it, usually the faster you can go, right? And the more efficient you go. And so it's an amazing environment. And I want to pivot this a little bit to, a lot of people, Maria, I think they think like, oh, well, I don't have a PhD in psychotherapy. I didn't have, a Yale education. I didn't go to the best school. I didn't have two parents. Like, there's a lot of reasons why I may not be able to do whatever you're asking me to do, Coach. But you've always thought that's different, right? Why don't you talk me through that?
Well, I see, and I teach all my students to see, and it's just not me. We have faculty members and everything. This is one of our biggest things is to see that, number one, everyone is a hero. Everyone is a hero on their path, really. Joseph Campbell, who was a great author and actually coached the Star Wars. It was, come on, what's his name? I'm blocking on the name of the guy.
Yeah, I am too right now. Yeah, that's
whatever.
Yeah.
He was the one who said, if it weren't for Joe Campbell, Star Wars wouldn't have really come off the ground. So the concept of the hero, everyone has goals and dreams and a desire to make a difference. Everyone, Trent, if you create the best environment for them to do this, has a voice of wisdom inside. That little voice that speaks to us sometimes?
Yes.
Like, should you do this? Should you not do this? Like this? Everyone has a contribution to make, and everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. And within that context, you see, people flourish. Whether you're a coach or a leader. But when you're a coach in our school, this is one of the things that you learn first of all about what it is to be a human being on this planet, Trent. This is an interesting experience, being a human being, isn't it? It's like, wait a second. And everyone has a desire to be successful, but not everyone has the skill set. So I say to people, if you haven't gone to Yale, so what? If you haven't gone to UCLA, so what?
Yeah.
What's important is to, for example, if you want to become a coach, there are some definite skill sets you can learn, and you will become a successful coach. That's it. So not to worry.
Yeah, I think that it's very hard for people to hear, and I've probably done this at least, I don't know, probably 500 times in my life, where I just had to look somebody in the eye and say, you have what it takes. And the immediate response is, and I think mine was as a kid too, like people weren't telling me that. They were telling me I'm not big enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not fast enough, right? Because the pro baseball thing takes a lot, right? And to have someone look me in the eye and say, hey, you have what it takes. It's within you. You have the ability to learn, the skill sets that you can acquire. I mean, I don't know if, because the natural inclination for anyone is to be like, well, I don't have what she has. I don't have a PhD. I don't have a this. But you're saying that all of us have these character traits inside of us. We have exactly what it takes to get to that next level.
Thank you for saying it, because this is exactly, Trent, you put into words exactly my meaning to this whole talk right now. I've given the tool I'm talking about, seeing people in this way, it's called the green lens. It's the green lens. And I've taught people, leaders, how to use something called the green lens when they're leading people. And I've done it with people all over the world, whether it's Turkey, India, all over Scandinavia, the UK, all over the US. once leaders see this tool called the green lens and see how to use it, all this becomes clear. And what happens, Trent, which is, I know is important to you, is that the minute you see the other person in this way, that person relaxes in your presence because they know you're on their side.
Yeah.
They know that all you want is for them to be successful. And so within that context, even if you have to coach them strenuously, they know that you're doing it for their own good.
Yes.
And that's being a leader.
The green lens. I like that. Like, I'm gonna have that T-shirt made up.
No, it's really good. That's so great.
Green lens. I'm gonna need some glasses to get myself the green lens all the time.
Well, absolutely. And if people want to learn about the green lens, we give free seminar on how to use the green lens, and just going to acecoachtraining.com and leave word that you're interested in the next green lens webinar. Fine, come on in. We'll teach you.
Love it. So I think people come, and you've probably seen people come with a lot of different questions, and we don't know how to position our questions. We don't know the right questions to ask. Like, we'd love to get. I often say a lot of leaders, they want to know the right answers, but they don't know the right questions to ask. But what I heard you talk about, kind of in our pre-call, was people. Like, the question is what do all people really want to know? What do they want to, what are they really asking you, Dr. Maria?
Well, one of the things people really want to know is that their life is making a difference. That because we're here in our lifetime, the world is a little better place because we're in it, whether that world be our family, our colleagues, our community, that somehow, because I was here, that old graffiti from World War II, was it Joe was here?
Yeah.
That they have there's this, so much graffiti that you see. Unfortunately, you see them on monuments. I just came back from Egypt and Jordan a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things I saw was how people over the years, even in the 1800s, 1900s, would carve things onto the statues, but it was always something about I was here. I was here.
Is it?
I think I hope I'm being clear about this.
Is it about relevance? Is it about I contributed to something?
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes. That, let's say as a leader, for example, that I can look back and say, you know what? I had my ups, I had my downs as a leader, but I did the best I could ever do. I have no regrets. See, I think that's one of the best things that you can coach a person into seeing, into being fulfilled with what they've done. Because in some cases, because you as a coach have given them some success skill sets. And once that light goes on, it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to apply this, and off they're running. But in many cases, it's just, we want to know that we've done our best, that's just the bottom. This is just, what you're hearing from me is after 50 years of working with people,
For sure.
As you can imagine, I've heard one or two people talk.
Yeah, let's talk about just you personally for a second. If you were going to tell someone, let's get a little coaching for Dr. Maria.
Okay, great.
There's a lot of challenges out there right now, right? Like, people are coming out of pandemic, people have lost their companies, they're rebuilding, they're trying to figure this out.
Oh, yeah.
There's stresses that are, new levels of stresses, and the news isn't helping anyone, I don't think. And if you were telling someone who's feeling like, hey, I'm challenged in this. I need to be better. I'm trying to improve myself. Do you have something like a quote or something that you read that you go to that levels you when you're having those days? Because even the great Dr. Maria Nemeth, has some challenges, right? When you're mired in some tough, challenging moments in your life, is there something that grounds you that you go back to?
Yes, there is. And it's a quote from George Bernard Shaw. And I can only, it's a couple paragraphs, but I can only quote from memory the first couple. But this is the true joy in life, having a purpose considered by yourself to be a good one, instead of being someone who has being a force of nature, instead of a feverish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. And he says, I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the community, and I'm here to do as much for it as I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. So do you hear what I'm saying? So
yeah.
If you were to Google, folks, and go to, this is the true joy in life. I have it printed somewhere in my office that it's around a corner. And I don't want to get up but
sure.
This is the true joy in life is how it starts. George Bernard Shaw.
I'm gonna check it out for sure.
Yeah.
I was caught by a quote by thinking about our interview together, I'm a little intimidated by the doctor of psychotherapy, right? So, but I just came across this week, and what we achieve inwardly will change outer reality. And I thought, man, we're always, we're working on ourselves, and there's a lot of value in that outwardly that actually shows itself. And I think those small changes, that's by Plutarch. And I think that people don't always recognize the small gains have massive impact.
Yes.
And the work that they're willing to do shows. And I mean, for me, just what you're telling me, I would love any client that I've already know or knew called you and said, hey, we recognize this could be value for us to be better coaches, because that's a company I think that's going places. That's an organization that's committed to doing this, because it's a huge asset to have. And and obviously there's a lot that don't have that asset, right? And those are tough environments for people going to something really every day, and all that time to be stuck and to be challenged with folks that are not acting, the way they probably should, and losing one of those big itties, losing that dignity, not treating people with that. And so it's a big challenge. But Dr. Maria, I am so happy we got a chance to talk and catch up.
Me too.
And talk some shop.
I'm thrilled.
Yeah, thank you for being on the show today, on the Winners Find a Way show. And, as we close, just reminded of the quote, winners, when shown data that they are losing, they find a way to win. And what Dr. Maria just kind of talked about, it is within you. You can go out and get the information. You have everything that it takes right inside you, and you have the ability to go. The mentorship is alive and well and around you, and you can find those people to come alongside and help you up. And if nothing else, for sure, get online and look up the ACE coaching program and find out more if this is the desire that and need to go. And I'm just so thankful that you could join us today. Dr. Maria, tell where they can find you again.
Oh, absolutely. So if you want to get a hold of me, marianemeth.com is the best place to do it. And sign up for my weekly newsletter, because I send something out that'll only take you 2 or 3 minutes to read, but it might just give you some more skill in handling whatever you're handling that day or that week. Or they can go to acecoachtraining.com and look up our program and see if they want to schedule a chat with one of our folks. But let me just say, you are one of the best interviewers I've had the privilege of speaking to, Coach Trent. You are a mirror of how you coach people, which is generosity. So thank you for having me be on this show.
So kind of you, Dr. Maria. Thank you for joining me. And of course, you can also connect with Dr. Maria like I did on LinkedIn. She will respond to you, and you can get a hold of Dr. Maria. And so thank you so much. I was just thrilled to hear your stories and everything. For everybody else, join us next time on the Winners Find a Way show every Friday at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific on YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live, and Facebook Live. So we'll see you next time, and look for the podcast on all your major networks.
Rebellious Infusions are organic flavored water enhancers. Rebellious provides clean, focused energy in liquid packets. Just tear the corner of the packet and pour 16 ounces of water. Rebellious Infusion have no sugar, no calories, and up to 300 milligrams of antioxidants and loads of L-theanine for brain health. Rethink your drink at drinkrebellious.com. For 10% off of your next purchase, use the code 99999. Do you want to be our next guest? Or do you have inspiring stories to share? Or do you love to inspire, support, and empower thought leaders? Feel free to send Trent a direct message on Instagram or Facebook at Leadershipity.